He, already a member of the social elite and renowned as a diamond bachelor, experienced a sudden revelation. Was he truly reborn? But hadn't he perished? Could this be his step-by-step strategy to regain his multimillionaire status? Nevertheless, he preferred a temporary influx of wealth over altering the course of his personal history. As anticipated, nothing seemed to have changed upon his return. Despite the possibility that all of this was merely a dream, he believed it was undoubtedly worthwhile. The location where it all began was also the setting of his deepest regrets. Startled, he exclaimed, "Hey, watch where you're going, young lady." Strangely, there was a sense of familiarity about her, particularly in her bashful demeanor. She quickly responded, "I sincerely apologize." Shin Yu-chu, the individual who captivated everyone during the graduation ceremony only to mysteriously vanish afterward? What an astonishing coincidence! This time, he vowed to rescue her from whatever force had caused her sudden disappearance. He had to reach her before it was too late, no matter what. In the year 2019, in the town of Jianya, a tavern buzzed with the presence of both familiar and unfamiliar faces. Among them was a young and promising individual. Mr. Chen, an esteemed figure, spoke of a man in his late 30s, but when approached by Chen Hanqing, he made it clear that he had no interest in hearing trivialities that day. The man offered an apology and sought solace in a glass of alcohol as his self-imposed punishment. Chen Hanqing, lost in a haze of anonymity, no longer identified himself by his name. He could be President Chen, Boss Chen, but the essence of being Chen Hanqing had faded away. The only tangible reality for him in that moment was the drink he held. Not even the people around him who concealed their true selves behind masks. As the evening unfolded, Miss Zheng approached Mr. Chen. However, to him, every person who came near him had an ulterior motive. Miss Zheng remarked on how fortunate the woman marrying Mr. Chen must be, oblivious to the fact that Chen was still unmarried. They engaged in conversation, and Miss Zheng gleaned fragments of Chen's professional and family life. She emphasized the importance of finding a balance between one's career and family. With the revelry coming to an end, it was time to bid farewell. Chen Hanqing, inebriated, offered to be escorted home but was declined since his residence was within the vicinity. "I can manage on my own," he slurred, as his home was a mere 100 meters away. On his way back, Chen caught sight of a feline family, triggering a pang of longing for his own parents whom he hadn't seen in a long time. He decided to deviate from his intended path and pay them a visit instead of returning to his own house. Chen Hanqing immersed himself in the music playing in his ears, becoming lost in its melodies. Suddenly, a jarring collision disrupted his reverie. Confusion and pain consumed him as he grasped the reality of the situation. "Am I dreaming? Did I just get reborn?" he pondered, a throbbing ache in his head as his life took an unexpected turn. Unaware that he was smoking, Chen Hanqing assumed it was his usual habit until he heard a woman's voice, Rongyu. Concerned, Rongyu questioned Chen about his behavior and advised him against it, stating that smoking was not his style. She expressed her hope that Chen would emerge from the shadows of lost love and embrace a brighter future, as they all aspired to progress. Chen retorted, "Who the hell are you?" Another unfamiliar man intervened, urging Rongyu to leave him alone. Strangely, both individuals seemed to be acquainted with Chen. Rongyu then inquired if Chen had chosen to feign ignorance of their connection. She reminded him that she had made it clear the previous night that she wasn't ready to pursue a relationship until after she graduated from college. Rongyu warned Chen that she would report his smoking to Aunt Liang, leaving him to ponder how she knew his mother. Eager for an answer, Chen asked Rongyu about their connection, but she simply handed him a bottle of water to wash his face and instructed him to collect his admission letter later. The other man hinted that Chen and Rongyu had attempted to confess their feelings to each other the previous night, which left Chen contemplating whether he had indeed confessed to Rongyu. Once Rongyu departed, Chen realized that she was the girl he had harbored a 3-year-long crush on during high school. Before he could put up a facade, a voice interrupted, "Don't pretend in front of me." Chen questioned the stranger's identity, and he replied, "Your best brother doesn't even recognize me? It's me, Wang Zibo. I'm still here to share your worries and smoke with you." Accompanied by Wang Zibo, Chen went to retrieve their admission letters. Zibo expressed confidence in Chen's ability to pass the exam. Self-doubt crept into Chen's mind as he wondered, "Am I really that incapable?" Unfortunately, Chen recognized the person handing him the admission letter, Lao Su, who had succumbed to lung cancer that year. Being abroad, Chen had been unable to attend Lao Su's funeral. At that moment, Chen began to question whether he had genuinely experienced rebirth. Concerned for teacher Su's health, Chen advised him to cut down on smoking, knowing that it had contributed to his demise. To Chen's dismay, he failed the exam, an uncommon occurrence for him. Exiting teacher Su's office, he crossed paths with Rongyu and attempted to learn more about her, albeit briefly. Before she had to depart, Chen still found solace in his memories of high school, despite the unfortunate fact that he had already graduated. As they made their way home, Chen Hanxing felt a wave of relief knowing that he would finally be able to rest. In his previous life, he had gone years without returning home due to work commitments. Just as he was settling into this thought, Xiao Rongyu's voice called out their names, drawing their attention to her approaching on a bicycle accompanied by 2 others. Rongyu had sought them out because they were the only ones who hadn't commented on her classroom record. Hanxing gazed at her with serenity, captivated by her beauty, as she retrieved the classroom record book. "It will serve as a keepsake, no matter what you write," she expressed. At that moment, her ever-present sister noticed Hanxing's gaze and exclaimed, "Chen Hanxing, where are your eyes wandering? Focus on writing your classmates' records." Rongyu, too, understood the situation and asked the same question, threatening to pluck out his eyes. However, her blushing face betrayed her true feelings. Hanxing simply acted as if he were engrossed in reading the classroom record. As he perused its pages, a sense of nostalgia and antiquity washed over him. Each entry had been written with utmost care. Except for a love poem by Gao Jialiang. "I yearn for us to be like white birds on the water's edge. The meteor hasn't yet faded, but we grow weary of its brilliance. The sky hangs low, the dim blue star in the morning light awakens an eternal melancholy in you and me." Hanxing found Gao Jialiang shameless for plagiarizing Yexi's white bird and claiming the words as his own. Rongyu urged him to stop sifting through the book and write something himself. He turned to Zibo, asking him to write first. Zibo claimed to be undecided but proceeded nonetheless. "May Xiao Rongyu grow up to be even more beautiful and forever happy." As Hanxing pondered his own words, he carefully crafted his message and handed the book back to Rongyu. She read it aloud. "You thrive gracefully in the pond. The low, though unsightly, speaks words of celebration. The toad may be disheveled, yet it is intriguing. The conch is a gentle soul, captivating and unique, a true goddess." Rongyu's sister dismissed it as a mere elementary school composition, while their other friend initially found it dull but grew intrigued after reading it a second time. Rongyu sought her own opinion and acknowledged that it was well written. She playfully admonished Hanxing, calling him Aunt Liang, and remarked that he shouldn't smoke, but she assured him she wouldn't be his mother. With that, the trio bid farewell and pedaled away on their bicycles. Despite Wang Zibo's reluctance, Hanxing persisted, urging him to contribute to the record. Playfully, Hanxing draped his arm around Zibo's shoulders and teasingly asked if he was trying to impress Rongyu. Though Zibo initially denied it, the truth was evident. Hanxing dismissed the matter, suggesting they visit McDonald's another time. Zibo inquired why they couldn't go that night, to which Hanxing explained his plan to have dinner with his parents. Zibo retorted, expressing his usual annoyance with his own parents' constant nagging. In response, Hanxing told him he wouldn't understand and walked away, leaving Zibo bewildered. As Hanxing strolled through the alley on his way home, memories of his childhood, particularly those of his mother, flooded his mind. A smile adorned his face as he reached the doorstep of his house. Initially, he intended to knock gently, but he paused and instead slammed the gate loudly with his palm. Calling out for his mother to open the door, she opened it and immediately began to nag, berating him for making so much noise and chiding him for not taking a key when he went out since he was now grown up. Undeterred by his mother's scolding, he entered the house, commenting on the stifling heat and questioning why the air conditioner was turned off. He inquired about his father's whereabouts, and his mother informed him that his father had not yet returned from work. She handed him 3 slices of watermelon, prompting him to remark that his mother still loved him. Despite her earlier statement that only 1 month remained, she instructed him to eat the melon and then take a bath, noting that his body was sweaty and smelled. Additionally, she reminded him to place the admission letter on the table. A warm smile graced his face as he savored the melon and whispered to himself, "It's still the same familiar recipe, the same familiar taste." Upon checking the admission letter, Hanxing's mother was filled with immense joy and satisfaction. She expressed her contentment, remarking that in a few more years, both she and her husband would be able to relax and enjoy their grandchildren. Hanxing, contemplating his single status at the age of 35, thought to himself that if his mother were aware of it, she would scold him. He resolved to do something about it now that he had returned returned, realizing that although he had sufficient financial resources for a comfortable life, having so much wealth felt monotonous. Later that evening, Hansang's father arrived home, and Hansang eagerly greeted him, addressing him as Old Chen. His father promptly switched on the air conditioner, but his mother suddenly exclaimed, "Chen Hansang." She searched through his clothes and discovered the cigarette box he had taken from Lao Su. Hansang explained that Lao Su had given it to him as a means of comfort after his disappointing performance on the college entrance exams. However, his mother accused him of lying and threw the cigarette box onto the table, stating that the head teacher would never give cigarettes to students. She called out to Chen Zhaojun, her husband, claiming that he didn't care about their son. In a calm manner, his father responded that it was too early for Hansang to start smoking and suggested he wait until he entered university at the very least. He promptly took a pack of cigarettes to store away, advising Hansang to smoke less and instructing him to wash his hands before joining them for dinner. As bedtime approached, Hansang's parents discussed his upcoming college journey. His mother suggested that his father take time off from work and accompany him to college, providing him with a few thousand yuan for tuition. However, his father insisted that since Hansang was adamant about going alone, they should respect his wishes. His mother expressed her frustration, stating that Hansang had been such a good child when he was young, but his father always supported his pursuit of unconventional ideas, and in the end he didn't listen to her. Hansang's father countered by highlighting that although his academic achievements might not be the best, his practical skills and emotional intelligence were stronger than others. As long as he didn't engage in any wrongdoing, they should support him. The little rascal unknowingly began to show signs of maturity. In the morning, Hansang's alarm pierced through the silence, rousing him from his slumber. Reluctantly, he emerged from bed, feeling a sense of attachment to his cozy surroundings. As he made his way to the kitchen, his mother greeted him, toothbrush in hand, commenting on his early awakening. He expressed his hunger, to which she responded with a yawn, suggesting he buy breakfast himself and informing him of her intention to return to sleep. He chuckled inwardly, noting that she hadn't changed a bit. At the market, Hansang's craving for egg bread compelled him to make a purchase. The price of 5 yuan struck him as remarkably cheap, prompting him to request 2. However, when he asked for the payment code, the seller appeared puzzled, questioning the code's nature. Suddenly, Hansang realized he had traveled back to 2002, a time before mobile payments existed, and he hadn't been given any money by his mother. Furthermore, he lacked a mobile phone. Awkwardly, he declined the offer, claiming that his grandmother had actually instructed him to buy egg soup instead. He walked away, feeling slightly embarrassed. On his journey back home, Hansang ruminated on the inconvenience of a world without QR codes, lost in his thoughts. He abruptly halted when he spotted Rongyu jogging, her body glistening with sweat. She wore a pink top, brown and white shorts, brown socks, and black and pink sneakers. Calling out her name, she recognized him. It was only 6:30 in the morning, and she wondered why he was up so early. Simultaneously, she harbored her own musings. Before Hansang could utter a word, she interjected, stating that she understood his feelings, but had no intention of falling in love during college. Confused, he exclaimed, "What?" Rongyu questioned whether he hadn't been waiting there early in the morning for her. Internally, Hansang pondered, is this woman's mind functioning properly? Rongyu addressed Hansang, suggesting that his previous act of feigning ignorance towards her was an attempt to gain her attention. She reassured him that he need not go to such lengths, explaining that she currently had no desire to enter into a romantic relationship. Her focus lay solely on excelling in her studies, and she wished to avoid any distractions. She emphasized that dating could wait until after graduation. For Hansang, her steadfast refusal to fall in love remained unchanged throughout their time together, whether in junior high school, or now college. Rongyu had consistently expressed her disinterest in romantic entanglements. Hansang affirmed his understanding of her stance, inviting her to join him for breakfast and conversation. However, Rongyu insisted that she should be the one treating him this time, considering the support he had provided her throughout their studies. Brushing off her suggestion, Hansang mentioned a delectable steamed bun shop located in front of the Public Security Bureau. He enticed her with descriptions of the buns, flavored with soy sauce and accompanied by fried soybeans, evoking a mouth-watering sensation. Together, they made their way to the shop. As they indulged in their meal at the shop, someone Rongyu knew approached them, inquiring if they were having breakfast. Rongyu cheerfully acknowledged the person as Uncle Zheng, while Hansang, fully engrossed in relishing the enticing aroma of the place, commented that he was still young enough to overlook the downsides of overeating. Hansang playfully assured Rongyu not to worry, confidently stating that he would maintain a perfect physique until the age of 35. Amused, she looked at him and remarked remarked on his unwavering confidence, noting how accurately he referred to his age of 35, as if he possessed prior knowledge of it. Hanzing jokingly replied that he did indeed possess such knowledge, alluding to an encounter with a fortune teller who predicted a future of wealth and honor for him. Adding a touch of humor, he mentioned that the fortune teller's numerology reading also hinted at a reduced number of wives in his life. Rongyu, taken aback by Hanzing's playful antics, remarked that he had changed from the person he used to be. She expressed her belief that a man's outward appearance is a reflection of his inner self. Hanzing retorted, the gentleman also mentioned that people's hands are as unique as their destiny. The boss's buns are different from the boss's wife's buns. The boss-made buns are flatter compared to those made by the boss's wife. Rongyu dismissed his words as nonsense, but Hanzing challenged her to check for herself. To her surprise, she discovered that his statement was indeed true. Hanzing chuckled to himself, thinking that she lacked common sense. With a mischievous grin, he added, career line, marriage line, lifeline. That gentleman taught me all. It's a technical job. Since you've invited me for breakfast, how about I give you a free palm reading? Rongyu grew a bit wary and questioned his intentions once again. However, Hanzing assured her that he wouldn't touch her and asked her to place her hand in front of him. Reluctantly, she decided to trust him once more and extended her palm. Using 2 fingers, Hanzing began to explain the basics of palmistry. Touching her palm gently, he told her, palmistry mainly focuses on the 3 talent patterns. The sky pattern represents the marriage line, the human pattern symbolizes the wisdom line, and the ground pattern represents the lifeline. Your lifeline is long and powerful, indicating good health and a smooth journey through life. You are young, beautiful, and full of energy. As he continued to interpret her palm, he mentioned that her wisdom line suggested a penchant for fantasy and a tendency to focus more on unreal things than reality. Regarding the marriage line, he noted its twists and turns, suggesting that finding a good husband might be a challenge for her in the future. He advised her to steer clear of men who constantly roam around and reassured her that she paid special attention to her studies. Suddenly, Hanzing exclaimed, "Oh no! Your wishful husband!" Rongyu became worried and asked him what was wrong. Drawing closer to her face, he interlocked their hands, smiled, and looked directly into her eyes. He said, "He's right in front of you." Blushing and flustered, she pulled her hand away, accusing him of fooling around once again. Hanzing thanked her for the meal and stood up, ready to leave. Rongyu asked him to wait while she adjusted her hair, and in the meantime, the boss's wife glared at Hanzing. Playfully, he referred to Rongyu as his girlfriend and assured the boss's wife that she would pay. While Hanzing stood there, chewing on a toothpick, a passing policeman caught his attention. They made eye contact, and Hanzing felt a sense of familiarity but couldn't quite place the officer's identity. Turning away, he shifted his focus back to Rongyu. However, to his surprise, the policeman approached Rongyu first, then turned to speak with the boss's wife. The boss's wife pointed in Hanzing's direction, and both the officer and Rongyu directed their gaze towards him. The policeman's expression turned angry, and then suddenly, he realized something. Hastily, he informed Rongyu that he had something to attend to at home, and before she could respond, he quickly fled the scene. It turned out that the policeman was none other than Rongyu's father. At the Gangcheng bus terminal, Chen and Zibo boarded the bus bound for college. They found seats next to each other. And as they settled in, Zibo began firing off questions. He turned to Chen and said, "Hey, Chen. I heard that university girls are more beautiful than college girls." Chen replied, assuring him that once he enters college, he will experience a whole new world, and his confidence will naturally grow. Zibo followed up with another question, asking if college homework is easier and less stressful compared to high school. Chen explained that while the university promotes active learning, college exams may be similar to high school, but the learning approach differs. Before Zibo could ask more, Chen playfully told him to be quiet and get some sleep. Zibo then mentioned that he had seen Xiao Rongyu. Immediately capturing Chen's attention, he eagerly asked where she was. Zibo replied that talking to her alone would bring him energy. Rongyu noticed Chen's presence but intentionally averted her gaze. The driver, curious about the situation, approached Rongyu's father, who explained that their car had broken down while they were on their way to take Rongyu to college. The driver suggested that Rongyu take the bus since it was heading to the same destination. Janya, Suddenly, a guy wearing dark shades and dressed in a stylish suit approached in a car. He asked if Rongyu's father's car had broken down and revealed that he and Xiao were high school classmates. He mentioned that he had been admitted to Jianye University of Aeronautics and Astronautics that year. He proposed that Rongyu join him for a safer ride, as the bus was crowded and the air quality inside might not be ideal. Chen silently speculated that a serious police officer like Rongyu's father would not want to associate with wealthy kids who seemed like troublemakers. Rongyu's father was puzzled by the situation. He had initially believed that his daughter would feel uncomfortable on the bus. But now, upon meeting this individual, who appeared to be a wealthy troublemaker at first glance, he was unsure of what to do. He turned to his daughter and asked, "What would you like to do?" Rongyu averted her gaze from the guy and firmly stated that she would take the bus. Upon hearing her response, Chen swiftly instructed Zibo to move to a vacant seat in the front. However, Zibo protested, insisting that sitting there would make him feel like a roast pig, so he refused to budge. Chen then asked Zibo if he would be willing to give up his seat for Xiao Rongyu instead. Zibo retorted by asking why Chen himself didn't take the seat. Chen replied, pretending to feel dizzy and nauseous when exposed to sunlight. As Rongyu made her way to the seat, Zibo reluctantly stood up and vacated it. From the window side, Rongyu's father turned to Chen and mentioned that he had heard that Chen's college was located opposite to Rongyu's. He asked Chen to take care of her, and with a smile, Chen assured him that he would look after her during the journey. Zibo grew increasingly uncomfortable due to a broken curtain that failed to block the sun. With 5 more hours of travel ahead, he found himself sweltering. Chen, being considerate, politely approached the bus attendant and requested a sun visor for Zibo. He inwardly chuckled, thinking that otherwise Zibo would end up roasted black. The attendant agreed to his request. Chen then turned to Rongyu and casually mentioned that he was tired from waking up early. Rongyu huffed, fully aware that he was trying to evade a conversation, silently challenging herself to see how long he could keep up the pretense. A few minutes later, Chen had dozed off, his head resting on Rongyu's shoulder. She muttered quietly to herself, "Asshole, I can't believe he actually fell asleep," while her father, sitting nearby, felt a shiver down his spine. As time passed, the bus approached the Yangtze River Bridge, capturing the attention of most passengers. When Chen woke up, he glanced at Xiao Rongyu, who was intently gazing at the bridge. He couldn't help but think that she looked beautiful up close. Intrigued, she asked him why he wasn't surprised. Chen remained silent for a moment and then, unexpectedly, leaned closer to her face. Her cheeks flushed as she instinctively moved back, only for him to tease, "Aren't you also not surprised?" Rongyu proceeded to list the various places she had visited in Jianye, including the Yangtze River Bridge, the Presidential Palace, Sun Yat-sen's mausoleum, and the Confucius Temple. Chen responded with casual nonchalance, saying, "Oh, that's awesome." Internally, Rongyu wondered if he was intentionally behaving this way. Finally, the bus arrived at the Jianye bus terminal, and Rongyu questioned herself, unsure if she was overthinking the situation. As they disembarked from the bus, Zibo complained about the stress of university while using his arm as a makeshift shade to protect himself from the sun. Visibly sweating, Chen remarked that he had advised Zibo to bring sunglasses like him, but understood he would have to endure the heat for now. Xiao Rongyu had an even tougher time as she stood under the scorching sun, clutching her travel bag. She asked Chen why he didn't bring a parasol, and he explained that the college would provide one as stated in the registration information. She then inquired about clothing, and Chen informed her that Jianye would transition into autumn after October, so he had asked his mom to send his clothes later. She considered the plan and thought it might work. Chen instructed Rongyu that her next steps were simple. She should take a taxi to the train station and then board bus 137. Her college would be the 5th bus stop. Curious, she asked what they would be doing, and Chen casually draped his arm over Zibo and said, "Bo and I are going for a walk at Changsha Lake." Panic washed over Rongyu, and she exclaimed from a distance, "Chen Hanqing, you scoundrel, you promised my dad you would take care of me." Both Chen and Zibo froze, and an awkward silence hung in the air. Rongyu's eyes welled up with tears, and Chen urged her not to cry because many people were watching. As he approached her, she turned her head away, folded her arms, and struggled to hold back her tears. Speaking softly from a few meters away, Chen whispered, "Let's go," just like that. "If people misunderstand our relationship, it might affect my chances of finding a girlfriend in the future." Angered, she exclaimed, "What?" In response, Chen said, "Well then, I'll take you to the train station and watch you board the bus. Is that acceptable?" Now furious and on the verge of tears, she asked, "Are you going to abandon me?" Chen wondered to himself, Haven't I already been rejected by her? Is all this necessary? Approaching her again, attempting to calm her down, Chen said, calm down. I'll help you carry your luggage to the train station. She bit his hand, causing him to yelp, and a passerby praised her, commenting on her impressive bite. Another passerby referred to Chen as a gangster, questioning why a student wore a sunshade, and expressing pity that such a good-looking girl was associated with him. Later, they stood by the bus stop with Rongyu sitting down. She glanced at Chen, who pondered whether he would be accepted at the university with the reputation of a gangster already hanging over him. Meanwhile, she wondered why she was so angry when he had clearly rejected her and had every right to pursue a girlfriend. Approaching her with a sigh, Chen called her name, waited for her response, and asked with a smile if her anger had subsided. Rongyu looked at him with tearful puppy eyes, then turned away and puffed her face in frustration. Zibo suggested that they skip the park for the day, but Rongyu shook her head in disagreement. Zibo proposed that they head to the college first, while he and Chen could go to the park later. Chen called Zibo a brat, then instructed Rongyu not to remain stationary as they were heading back. She responded with an okay. They gathered their luggage and began their journey back together. After dropping Rongyu off at her dormitory, Chen let out a heavy sigh, feeling relieved that the task was finally over. However, he pulled out a piece of paper from his pocket on which a girl had written her dormitory number and given it to him. Declaring him her handsome classmate, a smile formed on his face as he thought to himself, who could resist such adorable trouble? At the college campus, there were guides assisting new students, directing them based on their respective courses. As Chen arrived at the designated area, he took a deep breath, feeling a wave of nostalgia wash over him. It had been at least 10 years since he had last set foot in this place. While walking, a girl, preoccupied with her haste, accidentally bumped into him. Irritated, he turned back to reprimand her but instead blurted out, "Cute." The girl quickly apologized for the collision. She had long brown hair, brown eyes, and rosy cheeks. Wearing a loose, oversized button-down shirt tucked into green trousers, she exuded an endearing charm. Chen reassured her with a smile, saying it was all right. With a swift farewell, she hurriedly continued on her way. Chen picked up the paper she had given him, trying to recall her face. She seemed familiar, but he couldn't quite place her. Shrugging it off, he resumed his stroll, humming the tune of "Come to Japan." Approaching a desk where two people sat, an elderly man and a young lady, he heard her address him as a classmate and inquire if he was studying public administration. Chen introduced himself as studying public management. The young lady, Hu Linyu, introduced herself in return, expressing her excitement at being classmates in their freshman year. Little did she know that Chen already recognized her. In their past life, she had been their class monitor for 4 years, and after graduation, they had worked together within the system before both resigning. She introduced the man sitting beside her as their counselor, Mr. Guo Zhongyun, whom Chen remembered from before. Hu Linyu then requested Chen to fill in his dormitory's identity information. After completing the form, she called him Student Chen and informed him that his dormitory was room 602 in building 3. As she bid him farewell, Chen thanked her with a smile, knowing that she had been the class monitor for 4 years in their previous life. This time, he secretly harbored the desire to take on the role of monitor himself. He mentioned that he would head back to the dormitory, and she encouraged him, saying to work hard. Continuing his walk, Chen observed the girls around him and silently commented to himself that college girls were more beautiful and radiant compared to their high school counterparts. No wonder university boys flocked to their college for a glimpse. He sighed, acknowledging that no attractive college girl would date someone dressed like him. Nevertheless, he resolved to endure it and focus on making money as quickly as possible. Seeking job opportunities, he approached the information board, confident that his future earnings were in his own hands. There were numerous individuals bustling about as the evening set in, and Chen, carrying his sleeping bed and mattress, made his way back to his dormitory. As he reached room number 602, a nostalgic smile spread across his face. Opening the door, he greeted the roommates inside, exclaiming, "Seems like I'm the last one to arrive, huh?" Already occupying the room were 5 guys, one of whom sported a confident grin and eagerly called out, "Hey, is that Hanqing? He's finally here." He hurried over to Chen, grabbing his hand and shaking it vigorously, proclaiming, "We've been waiting for you for ages." Chen responded with an awkward smile and introduced himself. "I'm Chen Hanqing, from Gangqing." His roommates took turns introducing themselves. The first one to shake his hand was Yong Shichao, dressed in an orange shirt adorned with a green tree logo, along with blue jeans. With confidence, he declared his origins. I'm Yong Shichao, hailing from northern Liaoning. Next was Guo Xiaoqiang, donning a blue ash shirt and blue jeans, his blue hair and eyes matching his attire. Smiling warmly, he introduced himself. I'm Guo Xiaoqiang from Sudong. The third roommate, wearing a white unbuttoned shirt with a red inner shirt and black trousers, held an air of coolness. Nonchalantly, he stated with his hands in his pockets, Dai Jinyo, from Jingbei. He had black hair and eyes that added to his overall demeanor. The fourth roommate appeared shy, with bright brown hair and round glasses. His cyan shirt featured a skull emblem. Adjusting his glasses, he introduced himself timidly. I'm Li Jinnan from eastern Guangdong. Lastly, there was a red-haired individual with a black head on his cheek and fiery red eyes. He wore a white button-down shirt, leaving only the top button fastened, and a white inner shirt adorned with bangles on both arms. He held a cell phone in his hand. He casually introduced himself as Jin Yangming, a native of Jianya. Dai Jinyo couldn't help but exclaim in awe as he turned to Jin Yangming. Wow, brother. Is that the latest Motorola model? Jin Yangming, oozing confidence, responded, indeed, it's the brand new V70 slider phone. Cost me a pretty penny. Dai Jinyo eagerly asked if he could have a closer look, to which Jin Yangming playfully replied that he could simply touch it. Chen sighed good-naturedly, his smile widening. You're still the same old show-off. It has been a pleasure to share this story with all of you. We are delighted to have had the opportunity to provide you with quality content and entertainment. We invite you to follow us on our social media to stay updated on all our latest releases. We would be thrilled to receive your comments and suggestions regarding the anime you would like to see on our channel. We look forward to seeing you again in our next video.